I'm George Westerman. I'm a co-chair of the award process here, along with Ray Chang. We've got 3 amazing finalists to be with you today. So let me just do a little bit of lead off, and then we'll let them really share their insights. You know, as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about the agenda we have here. And I've also just, been studying this stuff for 20-something years now. CIOs just have a lot of hats to wear. And that makes that I in CIO, that I has to do a lot of work. So it's more than information, right? And so, we've seen over the years, people call it information and then changes to innovation. I knew one CIO called himself the Chief Instigation Officer. And of course, there was a time when CIO meant career is over. But now what we see is, adding to that I, people are saying that I's not enough. So you see things like, I'm the Chief Information and Digital Officer, I'm the Chief Information and Technology Officer. And other people are just saying, forget about it, there's something else I want to emphasize. So Stu and Carrie, Chief Resilience Officer, Chief, whatever you want to be, right? The names are changing, but some trends are still there. And one of the trends is the job keeps getting bigger. And the job keeps getting harder. And that makes it tough to be a great CIO, and luckily we're able to see some great CIOs. And I think that's why we're seeing another trend also, which is you're starting to see not just CIO, but VP and CIO, EVP and CIO, to recognize the importance of this role. There are a lot of C's around now in companies, but the EVPs, the VPs, you're not seeing as much of it. The key point here is that CIOs, if you're just managing IT right now, you're doing the wrong job, right? Your job as a CIO is to be a business leader who's helping to apply your tools to make the business better. And that's what we see here in the CIOs that we've been able to find for the finalists here for the award. That's why this session is called the Chief Transformation Officer. I hope that we don't have, a CIO doesn't officially change the Chief Transformation Officer, but at that point, transformation is so critical. And that's what these people have done so well. So what we thought we'd do with the panel is just ask each of our people to introduce themselves and tell a little bit about what they're doing. What's their elevator pitch for how they've been making transformation happen in their company. And then we'll come back to more questions. So let's start with Tom.
Thanks, George. Good morning, everybody. Great to be here and good to see everybody. I'm Tom Peck. I'm the Chief Information Digital Officer at Sysco, the other Sysco with the S, the food distribution company. And very quickly, for those of you who don't know us, we're about a $80 billion food distribution company. Think of us as food away from home. Other than retail grocery, think about restaurants, hotels, leisure hospitality, sports venues, airports, cafeterias, things like that. We were obviously largely impacted by the pandemic economy. We had to reinvent ourselves when restaurants closed and leisure and hospitality started shutting down. It was a forcing function, as we like to say. We had to help our customers, our restaurateurs, reinvent themselves, how to go curbside dining and QR codes and reinvent the way they run their operations. But it was also coming out of the pandemic, it was also an opportunity for us to really lead, innovate, and win in the marketplace. We had a strategy called our Recipe for Growth. It was how we wanted to grow faster than the market, how we wanted to take a largely traditional high-touch business-to-business company and turn it into a more self-service, frictionless, B2C-like company where restaurateurs can do their own orders on e-commerce. We have one of the largest e-commerce operations. How do we turn our 14,000 trucks that you see out there into computers on wheels with world-class telematics and routing technology? How do we change our sales force into AI-infused next best actions, suggested orders, and what's your propensity to buy? How do we merchandise and price difference? And technology was a huge lever for us, and I look forward to sharing a couple stories, but happy to be here and happy to represent all of our colleagues and professionals at Sysco.
Thank you, Tom. Next up is Oğuz Sezgin from Koç Holding.
Thank you, George. Good morning, everyone. My name is Oğuz Sezgin. I have been working for Koç Holding for 20 years. And I started my career as a software developer and then worked in almost every part of the IT, even in IT audit. For the last 5 years, I have been working as the CIO of the holding company and leading our digital transformation program. Koç Group is a very complicated group. Koç Holding is a conglomerate. We have many companies in multiple sectors, including energy, automotive, finance, durable goods. And in order to prepare our group for the future, we launched a transformation program in 2016. And this transformation program includes digital transformation, agile transformation, innovation, zero-based budgeting, carbon transition as well. And each of these programs are integrated with each other. And it was a challenging task for us because we have some giant companies in the portfolio, we have some middle-sized companies in the portfolio, and we would like to, accomplish this transformation across the group-wide level. So we are doing good. We started with 300 projects in digital transformation, and the number of projects in our portfolio now exceeds 2,000. And when we started the digital transformation program, this is the overall transformation program actually, we started with all group companies solely, but then we clearly understand that we need to transform our suppliers, dealers, partners, and even NGOs as well. Because the transformation will not be happened just by transforming our company. We need to transform the whole ecosystem. And we are doing pretty good. It is good to be here with you, and it is an honor to be a finalist with my two colleagues here. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Deepa, Soni.
Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I lead the technology organization for Hartford Financial Services. Hartford is a Fortune 150 company located in Hartford, Connecticut. And we are a leading insurer in P&C, property and casualty, group benefits, and mutual funds. We are a 213-year-old insurance company. And I've been there for almost 4 years now. And the transformation, I think, is given in any organization. I think the scale, the magnitude, and the pace is what's getting accelerated to a large extent. And so about 3 years ago, Hartford was taking on a journey to become, to grow. And technology happened to be at the intersection of that growth. And so I would say in the last 3 years, we've changed 3 dimensions. One is what is technology working on, aka how are we driving the business transformation? So we've pivoted to from, I would say, doing small enhancements across all our business segments. We had one big transformation going on at that time, and rest of the business units were sort of doing small enhancements, to now all 6 segments taking on a multi-year end-to-end digitization and digital transformations. So that's we've changed what we work on. We've changed how we work on. That is more about the operating model and ways of working. We took on a very consensus approach on scaled agile, which was from IT sort of doing agile to the company becoming agile. And this was a business-driven, top-down, business-centric transformation where we changed working on about 350 projects down to like 32 value streams that are embedded in the customer value KPIs and OKRs. So simplified the way we work, simplified from going from annual planning to multi-year to persistent teams, all embedded in business OKRs. And then the third dimension is who's working on it. And so there was totally a workforce transformation within IT and outside of IT. Within IT, we morphed into an engineering organization, eliminating a lot of different roles, but really becoming a hardcore engineering organization. And then outside of IT, we had to work a lot on creating product owner roles, agile product owner roles, agile product manager roles, which we didn't have before, as well as getting the executive team immersed into the power of tech and data. And so those were the 3 dimensions while we were dealing with multiple COVIDs across all the countries, as well as working on cyber resiliency and operational reliability. So excited to be here and excited to share the story.
Wonderful, thank you. This is one of the great things, this is one of my favorite things I do all year is to help to run this award process. And it actually kind of needs to be one of the favorites because we don't get paid for it. But these stories, there's so much to learn from these great leaders as they're doing their work. The title of this session has the word digital dexterity in it. And Deepa, you've mentioned one kind of digital dexterity, having the whole company just become more agile, more able to move. Any others thoughts on what does digital dexterity mean? Anybody?
I'll go first. So George, I had to look up dexterity in the dictionary just to make sure I understood, and it referenced things like adaptability and agility, and it used terms like with skill and grace. And I started to think about that, and digital dexterity, the ability of the organization to adapt and embrace with skill and grace technology and digital tools. And I think the key message from me and probably all of us is the technology is the easy part. And I'm on a panel this afternoon to talk a little bit more about change management, but how you train and teach an organization to embrace and be agile and to adapt the technology, the new digital skills, the change management, winning people's hearts and minds, and helping people understand the as is and the to be and where we want to go and what's that North Star is usually important. And I think organizations and people like us who are not successful unless we change that culture to make it a very digital savvy and digital dexterity, or the digital DNA of the company needs to change.
Thanks. And Oğuz?
Tom summarized it very well. Digital dexterity is important, and we need to be the flagship leader in our companies for digital dexterity. It is needed because digital technologies are coming at a very fast pace, and we need to create value from digital technologies. And it is not also about the digital technologies, but about the mindset as well. Let's suppose your customer base is fairly young, so they may use, for example, Snapchat a lot. So you need to also use and experience Snapchat and what is going on around those applications in order to understand better what your customers are expecting from you and from your services. So as IT leaders, we need to introduce as much tools and platforms, digital tools and platforms, to the companies, to our employees, and let them experience with those tools, make the data readily available for them, and encourage cross-functional teams, and promote a user-centric approach in each the processes and development area that we are responsible for.
Thanks. What you said was interesting. Technology is the easy part, the hard, organization's the hard part. As much as I love Moore's Law, and as much as Moore's Law is really important, I've been trying to push a different law. I'm calling it the first law of digital innovation. And we all know it. Technology changes quickly, but organizations change much more slowly. And so really, this is very much a leadership challenge more than a technology challenge, and we're seeing it here, too. But as we're doing that, I want to come back to another technology kind of word, or maybe not. Half of you have the word digital in your title. And the other person who does digital, although it's not in the title. What's the difference between IT and digital? Anybody?
I hope nothing. IT is digital. I mean, this is 2023. Every business is a digital business, and I don't know what IT is doing if we're not doing digital. And it's not just digital from a front-end perspective. I think it's about digital tools to the employers, to the employees, to the customers. It's digitization of your processes, bringing the art of data, analytics, AI all together for business outcomes. So I don't have a title of digital in my title, but
you don't need it.
I don't need it.
Yeah, I do have digital in the title, and if you ask 10 or 100 of us what that means, you get a bunch of different answers, right? And I always like to say the CIO role is the traditional delivery and running of the technology, which is table stakes, and the digital, I like to explain it as you sit at the intersection of people, process, and technology, that convergence, if you will, on how you change a company, how you change a culture, and how you converge those three topics. We talked about the different titles. We're all known as the chief fix-it officers, the chief process improvement officers, the chief how do you apply digital technologies, and that kind of well-rounded kind of view of the world is what's expected of us.
Well, there are two kind of responsibilities. One of them is making sure that business services are running in a most resilient and sustainable way, and the other one is looking for the innovation and process improvement in each part of the business area. And I am sure that a capable IT leader should take both responsibilities in one head, and should need to take actually those responsibilities. And let me tell you an interesting story about our transformation. When we started digital transformation across the group level, we tried to identify some names for digital transformation leaders within the companies. So it was a debate to even appoint a CDO or not, or having that hat for somebody in the company. And when we created the first initial list, the list was almost full of IT leaders. And then our CEO changed the list a lot, and most of the business leaders were responsible for digital transformation in the first phases. And now the list is almost full with IT leaders again, because the transformation in the mindset for senior leadership happened, and now it is the duty, it is the task of the technology leader, IT leader, to make the digital transformation in the company.
Yeah, that brings up a really interesting question. When we talk about driving transformation, there's this image of driving, pushing this forward. But as you've all learned, and of course we all know, you can't push everything. Sometimes you need to get other people to do it. So how do you think about balancing that? What can I push and drive? What do I need to just inspire? And how do I do that balance?
Leadership, of which we all are, is about motivating and inspiring. It's different than management. Leadership is about getting people to do things that they might not otherwise think they're capable of doing. It's very easy for many of us to top down drive a strategy and say thou shall do this or whatever. But we have to be very clear on the mission and the purpose and what we're trying to accomplish, of course. But our job is to help the business, the organization, in particular the field, those who are touching and interfacing with our customers, to believe it, to buy into it and understand it. And part of what we're trying to do in our transformation at Sysco is that kind of grassroots where you try it, you can scale it quickly, and your customers and your suppliers are actually not only embracing it, but asking for more. And you get that top down and that bottoms up kind of converge. And then before you know it, you can scale it very, very rapidly. And part of what I do, and I'm sure we all do, is we're orchestrating the speed and that collaboration, getting the right mix at the right time.
Yeah. Anybody else want to offer? Yeah.
I would also say that we're at a point where if we are doing our jobs well, we're being asked by the business to partner, bring our thought leadership to the table, and be a partner in them in shaping the future of business. So I always tell my team we have the accountability to not just be at the table, but actually be participating in the future of the businesses and the business outcomes. So I would say a lot of, I echo Tom's words, it's a convergence of top down versus and a bottoms up that leads to large scale, digital transformation.
So, go ahead, Oğuz.
And the most popular topic in the daily discussions will be the most promoted one. So we need to talk more and more about digital and promote more about digital in each day throughout the company, even in a worker in the field or a senior manager in the management needs to hear more and more about digital. So they need to have this digital priorities on their list.
Thanks. And so, you've talked about this leadership, and Tom, you've told me how important in your career it was to have your military background, that's shaped a lot of what you do and how you lead. Just for the panel and so, what's just like one important leadership lesson that you've learned that you're able to bring into this role? Some leadership lesson from your past that's really important now. Sure. I called you out first, so yeah.
Sure. 9-year Marine Corps veteran and played competitive sports most of my life. And I think the word that comes to mind is empowerment. And when you think about the military, there's a perception that it's a very top-down, authoritarian type of a culture, which it sometimes is and sometimes has to be, of course, in the heat of battle and combat and things like that. But the reality of military leadership and sports leadership is it's about empowering small unit teams of 4 unit Marine fire team or Navy SEAL team. It's about empowering your athletes on the athletic field. It's about empowering your employees. It's about teaching them the skills. It's about flying the air cover and making sure they know how to be successful. And you practice before you get on the field and making sure that your team feels that you have their back and that they can feel safe to make mistakes. So if you empower people, they'll be more creative, they'll be more entrepreneurial, they'll also be more loyal. So it's all about empowerment.
I would go with having been in corporate ID all my career. I think sometimes we get mixed up with technologies doing things for technology's sake. And beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, and we just need to make sure that whatever we're doing in the technology world has to connect to the business outcomes. And sometimes it's not clear, maybe a one-hop stop, but I think that connecting the dots to the business outcomes is a powerful concept, and if the developer and the team knows what they're trying to drive from a business outcome perspective, that's a pretty powerful concept that scales beautifully.
Thank you. And Oğuz?
As similar to what Deepa said, we need to make sure that each member in our team needs to believe our vision, needs to believe what we are going to accomplish. Otherwise, things will be fluid by time. Mm-hmm. But when the whole team believes your vision, whole team believes the value, what the transformation programs or what your projects will become in the future, then it will be very, very easy for you to accomplish all these things.
Okay, thank you. So you've all talked about your teams, and certainly Stu and Carrie talked earlier about risk. How many would you say that skills and talent are a major challenge you guys are facing right now? So what are you doing that would be innovative or interesting in the skills space? I know you're all working hard on it, but do you have a story you want to share? Anybody? Let's start down the other end.
Well, we are creating training and development programs with the universities, institutions, and leading technology companies, and we have trained more than 10,000 people specifically on digital, other than awareness studies. So it is important. It is an important metric for us. We are monitoring this number. And in addition, we also have a platform, an online platform for capability building. Mm-hmm. And at the pandemic times, we opened that platform to the public. So this is, aligned with our mission to transform the whole ecosystem. So the platform is still available to everybody, even in US, to the world. Of course, some content are in Turkish, most of the content. By that way, we made sure that every partner of Coach Group and each employee in Coach Group are in continuous development in terms of digital skills.
I wish I could say there was a magic wand, but there isn't. It's a lot of strategies in parallel. We also 3 years ago made a very conscious decision that we would train our in-house staff for all the new things we were trying to do, whether it was agile, cloud, data analytics. And so we've spent a lot of time in training. We all through COVID, we gave everybody Friday afternoons. We called it as Fruitful Fridays so that people could train, do the courses. We made it mandatory for all the managers to be trained as a cloud practitioner before we asked our team employees to do it. We've created contemporary job careers, job descriptions, job roles, titles. We changed a lot. And then across the company, we have been, I would say, we call it immersion sessions, but it's really beefing up the acumen of the whole company on digital, cloud, data, analytics, AI. So we do that at scale. So all in-house, and while we were also working on new internship programs, we've created boot camps where we hire folks from colleges, train them for 12 weeks and they become data engineers and then they're ready to go. So skill set that was short for us, we created some programs within ourselves and trained people.
And before Tom answers, I just want to come back to that question about the digital skills. How much digital skill does your average claims processor or your average accountant, when you think about giving digital skills to people, how are you calibrating that by the job? Either Oğuz or Deepa, yeah.
Yeah, I think of it in two ways. One is the consumer. So a claims adjuster is a consumer of the technology. That's where we're massively investing in change management to make sure they can trust the data science model that's going to tell them what the next step in the workflow is. And then we have all the folks that are product owners, product managers that are designing the systems of the future. I think we have different programs for different two audiences.
Okay, great. So different horses for different courses.
Yes.
Great. And Tom, what are you guys doing in the skills place?
Yeah, a lot of the normal stuff that was already stated. The other thing that I would say is the most successful digital savvy leaders, the skill that they have is a very customer-centric, empathetic view. And what I mean by that is you have to put yourself in your customer's shoes to understand how he or she could be or should be using the technology. How do you improve their experience? As an example, our customers are largely a historic reorder from list. I ordered this food last week, click, I'm going to reorder it this coming week. It's very similar to what we do when we go get our coffee in the morning. I want the same coffee I ordered yesterday, but understanding how to improve their experiences and how to apply digital is what will differentiate the best, most digitally savvy people. So we spend a lot of time teaching people about customer experience and the capabilities that technology will bring. And one very quick example is I didn't realize that Gen Zers, I don't even know what year group that is, I just know they're really young. They do 97% of them are influenced by TikTok and videos. And when we're trying to sell food or you're trying to sell your products, we've got to go to a different customer experience. What does that mean, and how do we get there, faster than our competition? So understanding the customer experience is a big thing that we put a lot of emphasis on.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
And I also want to add that in terms of digital skills, we are competing with all companies in the world because of the remote working. So we need to do our best in order to retain the talent. Otherwise, they can work to any company in each part of the world.
Yeah. So I have one more question for the group before we go to the open questions. If you are watching us online, please go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and we'll alternate the room and the online. That way you can make your voice heard. But we can't move on in this conversation until we mention the word that everybody's mentioning, AI, generative AI. So what are you doing in your companies? What's something exciting you're doing? How are you thinking about using AI, generative AI? Let's go down the list here.
Sure. AI is one of those interesting terms, and I think many of us, myself included, we're trying to figure out right now a little bit of a build versus buy. What's the difference between chatbot evolution and RPA and AI? And by the way, I don't know about anybody else, but I have a hard time finding a SKU of AI at the store. You can't go buy AI. It's native in a lot of software. You can do some software scripting, some if-then type of logic that learns. So we're heavily leveraging native AI capabilities in our software, but we're really trying to figure out how we can pluck AI and apply it to solving business problems. So for us at Sysco, it's understanding your propensity to buy. It's understanding what products you may also like to buy. It's upselling and it's cross-selling. It's predicting shrink. It's predicting inventory levels. When you think about ChatGPT and things like that, it's about large language models and how do we leverage that for customer care. And there's other areas of AI, generative AI, where maybe based on click streams online, where we can curate menus and recipes and just bring that together based on your heuristics and your search patterns. So we're bullish on it, but we're still trying to figure out that build versus buy and why software companies keep renaming product names and saying, this is our new AI-infused version and we want you to pay more for it. So that's the cynical version of me, George, but I digressed.
Vendors, listen to what he just said. Oğuz?
We are using AI in manufacturing, mostly in manufacturing and supply chain. And because of the talent shortage, we have a dedicated company founded for AI and data analytics capabilities. So that company works kind of center of excellence for all group companies. And coming back to generative AI, our primary objective right now is to introduce this generative AI technologies, those chat GPT stuff and all the prompt generation to each and every employee in Koç Group, because we believe that this generative AI has the capacity to improve their daily job. So we want to make them experience that technology, write some prompts, and we also want to generate a knowledge base around specific functions like HR or marketing or customer service.
Great, thanks.
So I would break it into two groups. Predictive AI, I think you'll be surprised. The Hartford has been quite a leader for many years. And today we have data models running across all our value stream, all the way from sales to servicing to claims to underwriting. We use it. And also we've taken it real time in our operational system. So instead of a data science model being at the back end, somebody runs it, we are running it in our workflows. They're part of the workflows. So that's predictive AI. Gen AI, we've been experimenting with it. We see the huge potential, but just trying to figure out the responsible AI part of it. And we already have a slew of use cases that we think it'll be applicable for us. We've already done 2 experiments to get hands-on experience. And it's all about figuring it out to do it securely and do it responsibly.
Okay, thank you. So let's open it up to the group here. Does anybody have a question for these leaders here? Yes. Over there in the white jacket.
I can speak really loud.
Go for it.
Could you guys hear me back there? Oh, well that's. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So, hi, I'm Lucy. I'm a digital transformation leader for Schneider Electric Fortune 500 company. I own the governance portfolio, global governance. I'm also here with Symposium. We're actually a partner for this event for this year, Society for Information Management. And my question, I love transformation, but I feel that as a digital transformation leader, I have to think about people and people transformation, because if you leave one of those things out of the equation, you really have nothing. At least that's my opinion. You talked about top-bottom, bottoms-up type of convergence. And what I'm trying to do is sort of a diffluence. I am trying to enact communication and transparency and creating a digital mindset at every level, from the top to the bottom, and having them sort of spread the word. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's how we're going to be more transformational. Here's how we're going to be more resilient, right? Do you have any recommendations or strategies? Because sometimes that top-down or bottoms-up approach, there's a gap in the middle, and by the time you get there, you're in a crap load of hell, right? Because there's lack of communication. Now you're dealing with the middle, which is probably one of the hardest things to do. So I'm trying to change that. So do you have any recommendations on where we could have a more, instead of top-down or bottoms-up, a more streamlined approach?
Yeah. Next question, please.
Well, I may jump in. Prior to our experience, we saw that the top-down approach worked very well, and it is working. Because in digital transformation, or maybe in any kind of transformation, we need to answer the question, what is the need for all employees? But for some, heavy transformations, let's say like digital transformations, we need to push employees, we need to push the teams to change their mindset, to change how they are working, and to look for the opportunities around digital. And to do that, in our case, we have a very prominent governance model. We are tracking the progress with each detailed metrics and high-level metrics. And these metrics are also tracked in the company level and at the holding level.
I would say we didn't talk about this, but there's another title, Chief Change Officer. So everything has to be wrapped up in change management and appropriate communication to the different stakeholders. I'm not sure there's one single strategy, but that stakeholder management is probably a key of any change, whether you're changing people, process, or technology.
Yeah, and I would just very quickly add, I was joking because it's a great question and it's probably a 30-minute answer to do it justice, but it's all about repetition, 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 because as you go down the chain of command, the message can sometimes get diluted. And what I've discovered is the lower you are in the organization, you start getting a lot of other requests and just do this. Hey, can you just do this too? And then your focus starts to get diluted. So making sure people understand what you're not doing, what you're saying no to, or what the priorities are, and helping stay very focused is a key part of the communication as well. But repetition, repetition, repetition. Every CEO staff meeting, every town hall, every one of our meetings, we check in, we align, and we recalibrate that we're working on the right things, and equally important, what are we not doing?
And if I could just add, so what we've learned over 12 years studying this digital transformation concept is, yes, you've got all these things, you got the empowerment, you got the governance, but there's also this ownership piece. And so one of the things that I hear a lot of companies saying is that digital transformation needs to be led from the top, but you can decide where the top is. And so how can anybody in the middle figure out how they're going to transform down below there? What can you do to energize them in that space? So any other questions out here? Yes, here. Oh, well, he's got a microphone. Let him go, and then we'll come back to you, okay?
Hi, Robert Ray, Intent Solutions Group. I was told to be brief, so wondering, you all three are very large organizations, how you think about ideation intake, prioritization, what moves forward, what doesn't, of the million things you probably could do. Second, have you had to address and mentor, maybe with your CFOs, product-based budgeting versus project-based budgeting? So those are the two. Thank you.
Short questions, long answers. Let's choose one of them. Anybody want to choose one of them?
I can take the product versus project, because that was a big part of our transformation. And a lot of the times, when technology shops go agile, we forget about the financial planning. So we talk about persistent teams, but there's no persistent funding. And so we actually created a three-legged stool between business, technology, and finance. And we have changed every single project, every single way of how we fund our IT investments. This whole discussion about persistent funding, multiple year roadmaps, and multiple year funding, that was in partnership with our CFO, and it was a very strong partnership, I would say, to drive that change. Because without that, Agile didn't make sense. If you're going to flip projects every year, don't need to do Agile. We can just do waterfall, and we'll do it well. So that was a big change.
Okay, great. Let's get the next question here. Right there, yeah.
Okay, so I meet a lot of CIOs. This is not the only event I come to. My name is Mikhail Popowski. I work for Massaro, and we're a sponsor, and we sponsor other events. So speaking to a lot of CIOs about their digital transformations, I hear pretty consistently from, I'd say, 50%, maybe a little less than 50% of CIOs, transformation sounds sexy, they sound great, lots of heroics, it's wonderful, but my organization just doesn't have enough appetite. How do you guys have, your top management's already bought into a transformation, so now, you're sharing with us how to execute it, right? How do you increase the appetite for a transformation in your organization?
I'll go first. I think the term transformation is actually a little bit overused. We've been all transforming ourselves for years, if not decades, personal opinion. And when I hear people say, we're transforming, well, what have you been doing the last several years, the last decade? So I think what's different is the sense of urgency, the sense of prioritization, the sense of speed. So how do you get the appetite? Maybe it's not the appetite to transform, it's the appetite to reinvent or change your model faster. And it's all about celebrating the wins, celebrating the successes and proven. To use a sports metaphor, you get a first down or a score or get up the bat and you get a hit. You just want to feed off that. You want to keep going, and that just gets people excited. Winning breeds winning.
Yeah. Selling the concept. You know, over the years, CIOs have said, well, if they would just give me a seat at the table, you know, we could do great things. And why hasn't my CEO woken up and given me a seat at the table? And you know, you sell yourself into that role, and you help people understand that role for making it happen. So I think your question gets at some of that too.
Totally, totally, yeah.
We have time for probably one more question.
This connects
Yeah.
This connects back to the first session as well. So I'm a CIO in high-end private education at the K-12 level, and data helps. It helps us figure out what our past customers have done successfully going forward. In terms of the data and transforming the business, that's really helpful in terms of looking at that data pool of where past behaviors map out to future success. The tension with that is with cyber risk. How do you balance that sweet spot? Because the more records you have, the more of a bad day you're going to have when that gets breached. And so on one hand, you have play it safe at the expense of innovation, and then you have be innovative, but that gets problematic in operation. So where on that continuum do you like to put yourselves? And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I may jump in. Before the digital transformation within our group, we have launched a cybersecurity governance model among group companies. So we wanted to make sure that the cybersecurity maturity level is at its highest for all group companies. And then now we are confident that in each digital transformation project or in each IT project, we are now at the safe side in terms of cybersecurity. In my opinion, we need to make our best for cybersecurity, but this shouldn't be a barrier for digital projects. So we need to make data readily available for each project and each employee.
Yeah, I would just add cybersecurity and all the normal NIST-based protocols and predict, prevent, detect, respond, and all that is important. But it was said earlier, data governance is usually important. Retention policies, access policies, purging policies, deduping, with the proliferation of data and in particular unstructured data, paying attention to that and keeping what you need and get rid of what you don't need is as important.
So we have 1 minute left. So I asked the panel to just prepare one strong, concise, non-complicated sentence to say here, you know, what advice would you give to any IT leader that hopes to be in this seat someday? Let's start with Deepa.
I obviously did not read your instructions, so I did not prepare my sentence.
Okay, let's.
But let's go with this. I think I would say this is the time for IT leaders. You know, there's never a better time to be in tech and data and really drive business outcomes that could be step change for the company and shape the future of the company.
Thank you. Thank you. Oğuz?
Be a continuous learner and try to identify and discover each and every precious improvement area in your daily operations.
Thank you. And last but not least.
Take the tough jobs, solve the tough problems. Don't wait for somebody to ask you to do it. Just do it. Swim for the fences and do so with confidence and speed, and good things will happen.
So I want to thank the panelists here, and I want to congratulate you on the great work you've done, and also thank you for sharing your stories here and in the other panels you're going to be on.